Good evening or good morning, class, whenever you're receiving this little hello. I know that being in an asynchronous class can be very flexible, and which is wonderful, but it can also get a little bit isolating or remote. And I want to remind you that I feel like I'm getting to know each of you through your writing assignments, particularly your think pieces and your exam, which I will have finished grading in a few days, and now currently your hypothesis annotation assignment. I want to remind you that I give extensive comments to all of your assignments in the place where you submitted the assignment. So you have to go to the assignment submission page where you submitted it and look at comments so that you can see kind of my feedback. So it's not, you don't get a Canvas pop-up that lets you know that there is feedback for you, which I think is a imperfection in Canvas. So do go and look at those. And now that said, about 20% of you have begun entering annotations into the hypothesis annotation assignment. So this video is really designed to talk about the annotation assignment and talk about the Upanishads. And if you feel really confident about the concepts, defining the samsara, Atman, Brahman, karma, and you're clear on that, you've gone through the text, the material I've already provided, and you understand how to use hypothesis, and your paper is underway, you can say good night or have a nice day now. But for the rest of you, this is just designed to warm up and help you approach material if you are struggling at all or unsure, which can happen in an asynchronous class, especially one that's moving as quickly as ours, a 12-week late start with a lot of big, complex ideas that cover a wide range of cultures and time. So I'm going to share my screen. So in your Canvas module, the page entitled here, the Upanishads introduction, is the page that really will help you read the annotation assignment in a way that will connect the content of the text to the concepts in our class. The annotation assignment isn't graded on whether your comments are right or wrong. It's graded on clear, sincere effort and awareness of your peers' comments, not copying someone else's, showing an authentic, genuine engagement with the material. And this is a beautiful text. It's a complex text, and just going into it and moving around and looking at the words, the language, some of the ideas, that is a very important way to kind of immerse yourself in the text of the period, and then to read what your peers are saying. So it's kind of bringing it to life through the dialogue. And as I've already seen in the comments or the annotations in hypothesis, some of your peers already have a background in this, in Indian, in Hinduism. And so they're offering some really nice insights into the reading, which I encourage you to read. And others are offering some really beautiful perspectives. And so your peer comments that are already in place are very helpful and useful. I've also put in a number of comments, so you can read through those too. Now, on this module page that is dedicated to the introducing you to the Upanishads is a short 10-minute video that uses really clear kind of visual articulation of the ideas, the radical ideas that become the foundation of Indic religion, which is the major manifestations are Jainism, Buddhism, and eventually Hinduism. Now, Hinduism takes the Vedas and Brahmanism, and it becomes the foundation of Hinduism, but other elements are added as well, specifically devotion, leading to monumental sculptures and temples, which does not exist in the Vedic period, or the period we call Brahmanism. And so in the content I have created in my videos and in most of the text that you see in these modules that is prepared by me, I use the term Vedism or Brahmanism. But in this video, the discussion is framed as part of Hinduism. Well, indeed it is, because Hinduism took the Vedas and Brahmanism into its system of belief. So that's just to help you if you're kind of getting stuck on terms, Vedism, Hinduism, or Brahmanism. So Brahmanism and Vedism are the parents of Hinduism, but the children, Hinduism, added other elements. Now, in this video, there is a discussion of Brahman, Atman, Maya, karma, and samsara. Now, most of you have probably already heard the term karma and have a kind of popular culture general sense of it, which is basically touching on a significant element of what karma is. Samsara, some of you may or may not have heard of samsara, which I will talk about in a moment. Atman and Maya might be very new to you, as is Brahman. One of the hardest concepts to kind of understand about in this belief system is that the relationship between Atman and Brahman. And one way to think about it is as a part to a whole. So Atman is a part of Brahman. And the Brahman exists outside of time, eternally, always. So it cannot ever be taken apart. And yet, we human beings are bound in time. And in that boundedness in time, growing from youth to old age, we have in this belief system a part of us that lives immaterially, that the text refers to as a spirit. You can think of it as a soul. And in the Upanishads and later Hinduism, it's called an Atman. And the Atman is the part of us that is Brahman. It's like a bit of light has pierced through our material body and is shining in us and wanting to communicate, or has the possibility to communicate, what we really are and where we belong. But we are bound in a body, and a body has hungers, appetites, jealousies, longings, ambitions, sensory pleasures, etc., etc. And so it is very easy to not be aware of this presence within us and where it really belongs. Now, that world where the self feels separated from others, from their physical environment, that is called Maya, and it is an illusion. And it is not the highest reality. It may be a kind of reality, but it is not the highest and most absolute. That is Brahman, and it can't be really explained except through, as some of the students already, some of you already beautifully did in the hypothesis, kind of through paradoxes, that which isn't, that which, and kind of paradoxes are very nice ways of hinting at a point without articulating it fully, because it's beyond language, beyond explanation. So we know it through seemingly conflicting ideas that are set side by side in paradox, or known as that which it is not, these kinds of ways of working with the inexpressible. Now, samsara is relating to the idea that Atman is eternal and it's destined. Well, not destiny is the wrong word. It will be compelled to move through life form after life form after life form. And in some articulations, even in the elements, in rain, for example, that it continues to manifest itself over time in different forms. But it's a life force, or a part of Brahman, that moves through bodies. And this movement is called transmigration. Trans meaning moving across, migration, you're migrating. And you've already learned a little bit with Buddhism that Buddha had many lives before he attained enlightenment, for example. Now, Hinduism and Buddhism are different, but they share a foundational belief in the idea of the transmigration of souls And this idea of reincarnation, or which is also called samsara, where Atman arrives again and again in new forms, often forms that are unpleasant due to having failed to live a life properly, which you acquired negative karma, and you have to kind of work through all that to kind of move your way up towards greater degrees of awareness and enlightenment. If you are able to reach a point where you become aware of Brahman, and how this is achieved is very complex. It has different paths, but what the powerful way is through meditation, through practicing austerities, through trying to like pull apart the body from the soul in the material world and find that moment where you recognize, oh, this is what I'm a part of. This is what is really true. And if that actually happens fully, authentically, and definitely, then there is this great sense of liberation and what's often referred to as bliss, and a sense of peace. And again, experience that is beyond language. And that's called moksha, which is not here, but the author of this video has a lengthy discussion of it. I've just frozen the video right here just to kind of have some images for you. And moksha is the liberation, the release of this constant being reborn in the material world in some form or another. And then you go home. You become one with this absolute reality, this place where you are like a drop of water and entering an ocean, and you are at once the water, but you are also the ocean. Okay, and so Atman is a part of Brahman. Okay, so when you're reading through the Upanishad text, think about when there's a reference to sleeping and to dreaming, for example, what kind of possibilities does a dream suggest about a reality beyond the material? What does it mean? What kind of peace do you have in a very deep sleep? And what happens when you awaken and you're subject to all of the struggles of the body, and also, of course, the joys, which you may or may not form attachments to. And so a person who is rising in their consciousness toward an awareness of towards moksha will experience the physical world, the material world, its joys and its sufferings, with a kind of distance and an awareness that none of this is the end of everything. This is not the finite truth of what I'm a part of. This is happening. Some things are beautiful. A lot is painful. The body ages. People disappoint. Famines come, etc. And yet, knowing that there is something beyond that, that is the deeper truth. And that is really the core of what a lot of the material we're going to be looking at. I mean, Hinduism is really leading and pointing toward. And the Upanishads are that foundational text. And as you saw in this module, Jainism and Buddhism are taking the implications of this system and offering a path to liberation and release that's without the Brahman element, without the rituals, and without elements related to it. That said, as you'll learn next week, Buddhism disappeared in India eventually, and many scholars say it's because it joined in many ways and became a part of the very complex and wide-ranging and all-encompassing, in a sense, Hindu practice, so that there's so much similarity. It was, the distinction became so minimal that you didn't see it. But as you'll learn already and later on in our class, Buddhism moves up into China, and it moves down into Sri Lanka and over into Southeast Asia, and takes on very distinct forms that are quite different from Hinduism. Okay, so that's jumping way ahead, but I kind of wanted to just kind of focus on this tricky, kind of intimidating part of our class and encourage you. This is a simple video. It's 10 minutes long, and to watch it and contact me if you're confused, because I'm happy to meet with you in office hours so you can be sure to do well in the next exam, because there will be questions related to this. And also so you can enjoy the beauty of the text you're reading, which uses gorgeous metaphors of dreaming, of waking, and other human experiences to express these abstract ideas in comprehensible ways. I hope you enjoy it. I'm looking forward to seeing more of your annotations, and I'm very much looking forward to your papers. Have a wonderful remains of the evening if you're up right now watching this, or a lovely day today, which is my tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye.